Last year, when a Turkish man was arrested leaving the U.S. with gun parts in his luggage, it seemed like an open and shut case. Prosecutors said that on several occasions, he tried to traffic dozens of semi-automatic pistol parts. But something the Border Patrol did has privacy advocates up in arms. Agents seized and searched the suspect's cell phone without a warrant at the airport. Cause of Action Institute says the warrantless search has dire implications for all of us. The group's Erica Marshall recently told me why they're challenging the practice in court.
This case is United States versus Hamza Kolzuz, and the case involves a Turkish citizen named Mr. Kolzuz, who was arrested at Dulles International Airport, an airport in Virginia, where he was set to fly back to Istanbul. Customs and Border Patrol agents found certain handgun parts in his checked luggage. During that arrest, the Customs and Border Patrol agents actually seized his cell phone. And at that point, they initiated a month-long forensic search of all the data on his cell phone, and it ultimately generated a nearly 900-page report detailing all of his text messages, his phone call logs, and his GPS coordinates for the past couple years.
So what is your objection? If he was trying to move gun parts in his luggage unlawfully, isn't it a good thing that we caught him?
Mr. Kolzuz certainly should have been arrested for trying to export those gun parts. The focus of cause of action in this case is the actual search of his cell phone that was performed incident to that arrest.
What is the government's argument as to why it had a right to do that?
Anytime you travel into the United States, the government has a limited right to search, for example, your luggage or your car to make sure you're not bringing any contraband in, like drugs, and on an outgoing search to make sure you're not taking out any undeclared amounts of currency, for example. So the government is saying that it searched the cell phone as part of this narrow right it has to do warrantless searches at the border.
So you think the government has expanded the intended power to search beyond what was supposed to be?
Cause of Action believes that once Mr. Kolzuz was arrested, he was no longer crossing the border, his cell phone was no longer crossing the border, and at that point, this falls under the traditional Fourth Amendment rule that you need a warrant to do a search of a cell phone.
Why should ordinary Americans care about this? Ordinary Americans who aren't going to be moving gun parts through their luggage and don't see a problem with this?
That's a great question, and the answer is very simple. Under current Department of Homeland Security policy, they purport to have the authority to stop any person, an American or a foreign traveler, who's coming into the United States or leaving the United States, and gain access to any electronic device that person is carrying, including a laptop, a cell phone, or any tablet or iPad that that person has.
So a traveler here going to visit family members in Europe could be subjected theoretically to having their cell phone and their computer devices seized and searched?
Yes, and it's not just theoretically. There's been so many news reports of late about individuals being stopped at the border, at the airport. The customs agents have been detaining people, asking them to provide access by entering a PIN or a code, for example. At that point, if the person does not consent to that search, the Customs and Border Patrol agents have essentially said they have the right to seize that device, to send it off-site for a complete forensic search and complete imaging of all the data on that phone or device, including information that might be available just through the cloud. It's basically violating the privacy rights of everyday Americans and also the specific rights that certain travelers, like business travelers, journalists, or lawyers, have in protecting confidential information that they often carry on their laptops.
Cause of Action says Homeland Security searched 5,000 electronic devices this past February alone.